In this video, we are going to start one of the very important concept of the Transact SQL, that is the triggers. As triggers are somewhat similar to the stored procedures, that is, it is also a predefined set of Transact SQL blocks, but the main difference is it is implemented or it is executed implicitly. Means we don't need to call it, it will be invoked implicitly whenever required. Basically, whenever we want to create a trigger, along with the definition, we also plan when I want this trigger to be executed. That means an event. For example, whenever I create a new table, whenever a user logs in, whenever you perform some DML on a particular table, all these are the events. So you have to decide on which particular event you are going to perform this particular trigger operation. So that is a very different thing which is trigger is having. Basically, whenever you want to do some logging type things, for example, whenever a user logs in, you want to check when a user is logging in or logging out, and whenever someone logs in, I just enter the user ID and the timestamp and will insert in a particular table, and I want this insertion should be taken place implicitly. No one is going to monitor such things, so I can simply go for the triggers. Apart from that, if I want to monitor or provide some controls on the DML of a particular table, for example, I have an employees table, it having a large number of records, and whenever a new record has been entered, I just want that the same record should be entered in some other table so that I can see only that particular record which was entered today, so that I can ensure, okay, this record is fine. Because if I'll start fetching the record and got entered today, we have to go in a table which is already having a very big amount of data into it. Alright, so for such particular things we can plan our triggers. So on each particular basis we have the different classifications of the triggers, such as the DDL triggers. If you want to create a trigger whenever a DDL operation like creating a table or truncating a table takes place. Similarly, DML triggers, which we will do for the insert, update or delete thing, and login events, as I said, whenever someone logs in or logs out. So these are the different events on which you can plan a trigger. Here, majorly, since we are not going in a DBA thing, we will get familiar with the DML triggers. As in the DML, we will get two flavors out here, the after trigger and the instead of trigger. We will actually give a deeper discussion to both of these type of triggers while implementation. Alright, but before going to the implementation, let's understand one more very important part, that is about the magic tables. In SQL Server, whenever a DML trigger gets executed, these two magic tables are actually created automatically. That's why we call it magic tables. If you are calling a particular trigger whenever the insert operation is taking place, and for example, if I have a employees table, as I said, it is already having 100 records. If I am entering one record through the insert statement, that insert statement will be there in the inserted table. The structure of these tables will be as same as the base table, that is employees in this example. Alright, so the structure will be exactly same, and it will only be having that record which is getting affected. That means a single row which was getting inserted will be the only data inside this inserted. Similarly, when you will delete some records or a single record, all those records who are getting deleted will be there in the deleted table, and again the structure of deleted and the base table will be same. But what if you will go for the updation? Is there any updated table? No. Basically, in the updation, both these tables will be in action. For example, if you want to take the older value of any data, means which you are getting updated, for example, there's a record called Anadi and I want to update the salary from 50,000 to 55,000. So in that particular case, 50,000 is the older salary, 55,000 is the new salary. If I want to check the older salary for the older data, let's assume updation is nothing, deleting the older record and inserting an updated record. Alright, that means the older value can be found from the deleted table and the new value, the new updated value can be found from this inserted table. Alright, so as I said, during the updation both tables will be in the action. So let's see practically how can we start implementing the instead of and after triggers along with these magic tables. So in this implementation of triggers, what actually I am doing is, suppose if you are updating the salary of any employee existing in TBL employees table, so I'm making sure like the new salary must be greater than the current salary. So if you are putting salary in lesser amount after the updation, we will not accept that. And for doing that, as there is not a predefined constraint, I'm forcing you to do that using this trigger. So what is there? It is basically a very simple DML trigger for which I have used create trigger name EMP sal check, means employee salary check on TBL employees. Here I am targeting a particular table on which I am setting this trigger, because since it is a DML trigger and DML must be performed on a particular table only. So on TBL employees for update. So update is the event right here. So whenever you will do the updation on this particular table, meanwhile this particular trigger would be executed. And after this as keyword, here's the definition. So for storing the old and new salary, I have defined one variable for each. And as in the explanation I discussed, like when you will do the insert operation, the inserted table will be in action. When you will do the delete operation, the deleted table will be in action. Those are the magic tables. And while update, both tables will be there. Means if you want to get the older data, you can go for the deleted, because the old data will get deleted and the new data will get inserted. So for the new data, you can go for the inserted. If the old cell is greater than new cell, that means this is what we are not expecting. So inside this if, I am just printing a message like new salary cannot be less than old salary, and I am rolling it back. Alright, so using this rollback command, I will undo the operation. So let's execute this, and as soon as I do that, the command completed successfully and the trigger is created for employees table. If you want to check, you can simply come inside the tables, your target table like TBL employees, and inside trigger, let's refresh it, and here you got something like EMP sal check. Alright. So anytime when you will update the salary, it will be generated. So let's see what happens. Update TBL employees set salary is equal to salary minus 1. I don't know the exact salary, but obviously if I'm subtracting, the current salary is lesser than the new, the current salary is greater than the new salary, because the new salary is one amount lesser. So where, either if you want, I'll not pass anywhere. Let's execute this one. And here you see the message, new salary cannot be less than the old salary. Alright, but if I will do the plus operation, means I am increasing the salary from the current, 18 rows affected. That means all the records have been affected by an increment by 1. So this is how you can plan the trigger. Similarly, let's do one more operation, like I want to check the delete operation. For example, create trigger EMP del check on TBL employees for delete. Alright, so what I'll do here is the logic is going to be changed. Alright, so first of all, what I'll do, I'll simply declare a variable count. What I want is, if any SQL command of yours is deleting more than one record at a time, I'm not going to permit that. Means if you want to delete 3 records, you will have to delete one by one. That will surely be a longer way, but it will be the safer way. At least we will not lose any data which I don't want to delete. So declare @count as integer. Now what I'll do is I'll say select @count is equal to count asterisk from deleted. So as I said, whichever the records are getting modified, only those data will be here in this deleted table or inserted table. Since we are deleting now, so I'll query the deleted table. Now if there are one records are getting deleted, only one record would be there in the count. If more than one, that particular, so that particular value will be here in this count variable now. And if @count is greater than 1, begin and just give a message like print cannot delete more than one record at a time. Alright, so this is a very simple message, and obviously roll back after that. Alright, so this is how we can restrict some customized things as well. So now it is created. Let's do the delete operation. Delete from TBL employees. For example, if you are executing this particular query and you forgot to pass the condition, so at least your data will not be lost. So you can see the message cannot delete more than one record at a time. So if I'll say like where emp id is equal to 106, and now if I'll delete, so one record would be deleted. But if I'll say emp id in 102, 103, so it will delete more than one, again the same message will appear. So this is how you can use a trigger for putting some customized restriction for your data. Let's take another example of a trigger, and in here we are going to cover the instead of trigger. Now for instead of trigger, what I'll have to do, first of all we have to create a view, because instead of views will be applicable on views only. Now as we have already covered views, where we learned like view is like just a representation of table data. It doesn't contain any data in itself, but it will just retrieve the data from the table and show you in your desired format. So that is what I have done in this particular view, that is EMP view, in which I have retrieved the ID, first name, salary, and the department name of all the employees. We have already covered the concept of joins, which we have done here. So if you're not fine with the concept of views and joins, I suggest you to go to that particular video and get the sufficient knowledge. Now once I'm done with the creation and I'll start retrieving the data from this particular view, EMP view, and now let's execute this. So you can see very clearly like employee ID, first name, salary, and department name, and this department name is coming from the TBL departments table. Now my requirement is, if I want to insert any record in this particular view, so what I'll have to do, I will pass the employee ID, first name, salary, and department name. But actually it will add a new record in the employees table, and in the employees table we don't have any column name, department name, rather we are just storing the department IDs in the TBL employees. Let me show you the content of that. Alright, so here you can see there's a department column in which only department IDs are stored, and from the departments table, that is TBL departments table, all the departments have a particular department name, and that is what I have retrieved in this particular view. Now what I want is, whenever I enter something in this particular view, like in EMP view, if I enter something like sales, so in the table the department ID of sale should get inserted. So that is what the instead of trigger actually means. like rather than instead of inserting the department name, I want to insert the department ID in the actual source table. So for that particular requirement, I will write an instead of trigger, and here is what I have done. So here I have created an instead of trigger for the insert operation on EMP view. As I said, instead of trigger will be designed for a view only. So here create trigger trig underscore EMP view insert, that is the name of my trigger, and on EMP view instead of insert as. Now inside this particular trigger, what I have done is I have retrieved all the details for these three columns from the inserted table, as we are going to do the insert operation and we have already discussed about the magic tables. So that is what I have used here also. So you can see clearly what I have done in this select statement. I have simply made a join with the department table and the inserted table, because the department name and the department ID of that particular department name can be retrieved only from the departments table. So you can see the simple query like employee ID, first name and salary we are retrieving from the inserted table, and the department ID will be retrieved from the department table, and the join is on the basis of the department name, because department name is the common column for the for this particular join with the inserted and department table. Why we are doing that? Because our motive is to get the department ID of that respective department which I'm entering here. Like if I'm entering IT, I should get the ID, department ID of this particular department IT. So that is what I have assigned in this department ID. Alright. Now, if a user will enter a department which actually doesn't exist in the departments table, so as per the concept of referential integrity and foreign key, I should not allow that. So for that, I have checked here, like if department ID means this variable is null, so I will just print a message and I'll roll back. You can also use the raise error method in order to raise the error, but I just printed a message. Now if, and I'll do that when this department ID is null, means user is entering some invalid data. Now after that, I have done an insert in the TBL employees. That is what the instead of trigger means. The insertion will not be in the view, but it will happen in the table. So insert into TBL employees an EMP ID, first name, salary and department, and these are the fields. So let me execute this, and this trigger is being created for me. So let's check it out. Like in the Object Explorer, in the views, you can see the EMP view is there, and inside this you will find triggers. Let me refresh this. Alright, and now inside this I can see this trig underscore EMP view insert. Alright, so now let's do an insert operation there. So first of all, let me do a selection, select asterisk from EMP view so that I can get the structure right. Now let me insert a record. For that I'll simply write insert into EMP view values. I have to pass the value in a sequence because I'm not passing the column name. So let me find a record here. Let's say employee ID 121, name, let's say, let's put anything like ABCD, salary, let's put 30,000, and in department I will enter sales. Alright, so let's do this insertion. You see the record is entered successfully, and 121 ABCD, 30,000 and sales. So if I will query the table now, like select asterisk from TBL underscore employees. So right here what I'll notice is in 121 it's actually 40. And what is 40? 40 should be the department ID for the sales. So let's check that as well. And yes, 40 is the department ID for sales, and that is what we wanted. So this is how you can implement the instead of trigger for a view, in which whenever you will do any DML operation in the view, that will be appropriate for the table, and instead of trigger will do all the arrangements for that.